Greetings, listeners. It's your Destiny Pusher, Mrs. Cynthia Williams-Bey, and it's time to push through on this Fighting Friday so you can be restored and sprung forth into your destiny.
And I'll be your co-host today of the Williams-Bey Radio Show. I would like to say thank you to Cynthia for allowing the International Queendom Incorporated nonprofit organization to take over the Williams-Bey Radio Show today. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the president and founder of the International Queendom Incorporated nonprofit organization, headquarters located in Brooklyn, New York. Can I say that?
You can say whatever you want. Hey, you guys. Hey. Thank you for letting us take over the Williams-Bey Show. It's a takeover for October, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Jazz is going to be our interviewer and our host. I'm Corinne Foster, the president and co-founder of International Queendom Incorporated, all about changing the narrative for women globally through a multi-purpose services that, what do? We provide resources, events, and programs so that this way women have an impactful and intentional experience with us. We are so happy that we are allowed to do this because there is an epidemic going on in the world with domestic violence. Globally, 35% of homicides of women are from their partners. So let's get started. We got a great show for you guys tonight and a great host. And we hope that you guys not only feel the pain of women who have suffered domestic violence like myself, but also feel excited about what you can do about it. All right.
And how we can change the narrative.
Changing the narrative.
Hello and welcome, guys. I have a special guest here. Her name is Siamata, and I would like her to introduce herself. So my very first question is going to be, who are you?
Who am I? My name is Siamata Anderson. Originated from Panama. Grew up in Miami, moved around the East Coast as my life story began. And who am I? I'm many faces. I'm faces of pain, struggle, happiness, or just being who I am now. And I'm being thankful now.
Okay. So to get into a little bit of your story and getting to know you, we're just going to start with a few questions. So as we all know, you suffered and you're a survivor of domestic violence, correct?
Yes.
So how long did you suffer of that period in your life of domestic violence?
I want to say close to 2.5 to 3 years.
Okay, 2.5 to 3 years. When did you notice that the relationship that you were in was a domestic violence relationship?
When the first time he came when we were dating and just getting to know each other, and he had an incident and he didn't know who to put the finger on. And he rushed from Queens to Brooklyn, snatched me out of my house, late at night, barely no clothes. It was like I barely thought I was being kidnapped. And rushed me to Queens, put me in the room, had my face up in the air, and that was the start.
Okay. So that was the start of, that was the start of something that you didn't know that wasn't familiar to you, correct?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, so it wasn't familiar to you, but what did you do to get yourself out of the situation? So how did you overcome that situation in Queens?
It was hard to overcome because I was young. I was just coming to New York. I didn't know nobody. I didn't have no family. I came on a risk of something that happened in DC and I had to flee. And I came up and it was just, I was in a moment that I didn't know how to get out of. And then I became a baby. I tried to leave and go run back to DC. He followed me, thought it was love. So he followed me and he in love. But then he was just so overwhelmed and so aggressive and so, just on top of me left and right. And the next thing you know, he left and I was like, this is over, you go on back to New York and it's done. Next thing you know, I got sick 4 months later, never knew I was pregnant, still getting my menstrual. and I was pregnant.
So that's something I want to ask. It's a lot of women, they go through these situations of domestic violence and they don't know the signs of domestic violence, right? So domestic violence can come in several ways. It can come physical, it can come mental, it can come abusive. It can come several ways. So when did you know that your situation wasn't just a mental thing, it became very physical? When did you recognize that that wasn't love?
It was mentally because he was verbally abusive. That started it. And then the grabbing and the trying to keep me in check and being, he was a prodigal of his parents. He just thought hitting was the solution. I'll be in my sleep and the next thing I'm getting a punch in the face or get snatched up or open your legs up wide. It's, because of his drunkenness. And he was so jealous and possessive. So if I try to leave and go somewhere else with my friends and family, he popping up and waiting for me. And as soon as I'm coming out of the party or the club, I'm getting slapped up, I'm getting punched. And I'm getting beat all the way home from Brooklyn all the way back to Jamaica, Queens.
Okay. So I know that you said that you went to DC and that's where you fled, correct?
I fled, I tried to flee.
Okay, so before you got to DC, when did you notice that that was your breaking point? That was a point in time where you said, I can't go through this anymore because I have children that is depending on me to be better.
At that time, I wasn't pregnant. That was my first time of trying to flee. And why I tried to flee is because I believe I wanted to better myself in my education. So I was going to Blake Business School in Manhattan, and we lived off of Jamaica Ave, so I had to catch a J train. I was getting up that morning, I had a state board test, and I said, okay, I had myself ready, prepared to study. And as soon as I was about to walk out the door, he was like, you're not going nowhere. And I was like, yes, I am. I'm going to take my test. I got to be there. Come on, I got to go. And he just started punching me. Next thing you know, I had 2 black eyes. But I fought him off, and I said, you know what, you're not going to stop my dream. He was like, education is for dummies. And I said, okay, well, this is going to be a dummy right here. I went through, it was winter time. I went out the door. I got on the dollar van as fast as I can, got to the city, put on glasses. And I was like, I'm gonna do this. And I knew at that point, I had to get away from him because he was never gonna let me be nobody. I was always gonna be that girl cooking, making sure he was all right in every area that a man wants to be, but I was never gonna be me. I couldn't find me. And at that time, the first chance I had, I flew to DC. My sister called me and I was like, I'm coming. And I know once I was in her, I was protected. But then he came and I thought it was cute. I thought he fell in love. He ran behind me and then I got pregnant.
Okay. So you got pregnant. At what age was your child before you said, I can't do this anymore, before you actually left? Because domestic violence is a proven fact and there's data that shows that a woman goes back 7 times before they say that they're done. So was it your 6th, your 5th, your 4th, or your 3rd? Or was it your 7th, or 8th, or 9th, or 10th?
I had so many times that he beat my ass, and so many times I ran, so many times I said, okay, I'm not raised with a father, not raised with a mother. I brought my child back to him, catch him in the bed with my child in the middle, jumping in, coming through the room, fighting, kicking, and he punching me, family holding me down, and family members jumping in saying, you know what, I'm gonna kill him. I had to say him many times. The right final time is I flew to Flatbush, I found an apartment, and I thought I was good, I got my apartment, I had my child, we had a little lifestyle going. I went to go get some groceries, came back, I was dealing with somebody, and I was fixing dinner. And the next thing you know, I had a little girl, a girl who lived with my old neighborhood babysitting. And when I came back, my door was open, and I was like, why my door open? And as I was pulling the door, he was pulling the door behind me.
Okay, that's interesting. It gets interesting there. So, you moved to Brooklyn, you moved to Flatbush. He didn't know where you were at this point.
Never knew. I thought he did.
So you thought he did it. Was there any reporting in place to the authorities that you were going through the situation?
No, I never. He was my baby father because I wasn't raised with my father. I promised myself no matter what, I wasn't going to take my children away from their father.
So it takes me to my next question. Did you think because you wasn't brought up with your father that this is what love looked like from a man?
Yep, I searched in the wrong places. I thought he loved me. I thought we had a baby together. I had to be that mother. I had to be that woman. I had to be that provider. I had to be there through thick and thin. And it was times that he would break down and cry. And I thought when he was crying, I was like, don't cry. We can do this together, but I don't know what his pain could have came from his childhood, but I thought that he loved me. So it was love. To me, I was young. I was 20 years old, 19, 20. I didn't know no better. I was coming from another whole state to a place, so that was like my love, my first love, literally love.
Right. Okay. So when did you realize in this relationship that you would say, okay, I'm walking away, this is it? After you found her in Flatbush. So you found her, let's go back to that. So you found her in Flatbush, you went for groceries, come back to your house, you're gonna open your door's already open. So you're tugging on the door, there's somebody else on the opposite side of that door waiting for you. When did you realize that there might not be an escape here and I might be stuck in the situation that I'm in?
Once I realized there was him behind the door, I knew. I was like, I had nobody to call, I had nobody around. My son was 5 years old, I think. He was sitting on the couch. And I walked in, of course I was cooking, so everything, I'm a girl that makes sure my man has everything ready for him when he come home. I had everything ready for, my friend at the time coming. And when he seen all of that, he just went berserk. So you cooking food, you got this in the refrigerator, he started busting bottles on the floor. And I'm like, stop it, our son is there. Black.
And how old was your son at this point?
4 or 5.
4 or 5.
And my son, he started screaming and yelling and crying. And I was like, look what you're doing, you're making no sense. So at that point, I didn't have nowhere to turn, I had nowhere to go, I had nowhere to call. Then he plopped me on a chair and he put a knife to my neck. And that right there was the point of death. And he put the knife and he said, before I let you go, I'll kill you. And I said, like, my son was crying, I said, and you.
So we were talking about your child. So you said he was 4 or 5 years old and you were dealing with the situation and you were going through this tragedy. Let's put it like that, a tragedy. Today in 2022, where is he at now? How does your past affect him now? And if he remembers it, does he express that to you? And does he vividly talk to you about it? And how do you deal with that as a mother, as someone that was the victim and that he was alongside you when you were going through these traumas and pains? And how does that affect you guys' relationship today?
My son will be 31 on Monday, October 3rd. And through that struggle, it took him to another world. Because after I left that relationship, I got in a verbal relationship and had a child. And it was pain and hurt through that because we broke up in a real messed up way. That's another story on top of the story. And Delano, he was hurt. And I never knew how much he was hurt until we had a big argument. Because one of my last relationships, he had built so much anger from a baby and from a child and seeing me what I went through. And my next relationship was so verbally, he took a lot in from that. And when we broke up, when me and my last baby child father broke up, we left and went out of the state and moved and stuff and thought he was coming in. And how the situation happened with us, it hurted him. And then he did something that we was planning to get married, had everything paid for, everything. And then he stepped out and married somebody else. And how my son felt.
So, let's stop there for a second. So you were planning to get married to someone else. He stepped out and married someone else. How did it affect your mental?
Oh, my mental was bad. My cousin was there. I locked myself literally in the house for a week. Nobody knew nothing, nobody heard nothing. I starved myself, I didn't eat. I went from 160 pounds to 120 pounds within a week. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I was hurt, I was confused. I was like, wow, we got a wedding date set and now you got married 2 months before we supposed to get married? And you did this to me? And my son would sit in the church when you announced the marriage in church and nobody knew, your family didn't know, and you just blurted it out. And my son, you know, he ran to one of my friends that cried and told her, and then she called and told me. And I'm like, what? We were supposed to get married this September the 9th. And you got married July the 1st? What? So my son suffered a lot of seeing all of that, and he lost the father that he didn't get from the father that he had, who was there with us all that time before. He lost that father. And then he ran to stay with him, and then he turned against him. And the next thing you know, he turned to streets, he turned to gangs. So how's my son now? It's a hot mess. But I can't even talk about it right now because I can't.
Well, this is where we have to understand that some women can't talk about their tragedies, and being that they're survivors, it takes a lot to bring this out of them, and it takes a lot to bring this to the forefront. I have another guest coming. I have a few more, and at this time I would like to introduce my next guest. Her name is Monique White, and I will let her introduce herself to you, and you can tell her story. So without further ado, we're going to welcome Monique White. Hello and welcome to the Williams-Bey Radio Show.
Hi.
So,
hello world.
We're going to start by with the first question. Who are you?
Who am I? I am unique. Who am I? I'm a survivor. I'm strong-minded. I'm powerful, peaceful. I'm impactful. Everything that you could think of, that's who I am.
Okay. So, let's go a little bit more deep into your past, and let's go down memory lane a little bit. I know it takes a lot to bring these things back up and to talk about them, but the International Queendom nonprofit organization thinks that it's very important that we get these stories out, so we can build a narrative around it, so that the world knows what people are going through. So let's go back a few years to when you were living upstate. Let's start there. Who were you living upstate? How did you get there? What got you there?
Upstate, what got me upstate? Being in a relationship with a guy who I trusted, who made me believe that he was gonna love me and treat me right and respect me. Being the fact that I already went through domestic violence in my previous relationship, but he was supposed to be that one, that man to outshine that, to take all that pain away from me. But instead of him doing that, he brought more pain to me by doing the same thing.
Okay. So let's go a little bit deeper. Let's uncover. So you went through domestic violence. You're a survivor of domestic violence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you give us a little bit about your journey dealing with domestic violence and how you figured out that you was in a domestic violence situation?
My domestic violence started off as abuse. And this started off for me when I was as a kid.
Okay. So can you take us into your first moment of abuse?
My first domestic violence situation was with my ex-boyfriend who I lived with upstate. Everything was good. Good woman, going to work, paying all the bills. He was like in a bad position where he wasn't able to pay the bills and stuff. For me, I did that. Took my responsibility as a woman, as a girlfriend, wife, however you call it, to maintain the household. But he had a dark secret about him that I didn't know. And once I found out that dark secret about him, that's when the real started.
So let's go into how did you find out that dark secret that he had, that he didn't unreveal to you, apparently, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So we just happened to go in the city to meet up with his nephew, and like I said, it was just a situation that happened in the car. I saw something and it started to register to me, and I found out that he was doing that particular thing. I already knew what was going to come behind that.
Okay. So, when was the first time that he physically abused you?
The first time that he physically abused me, we were living in Newburgh, just got an apartment, just came home from work, did a double from work. He needed his drug.
Okay.
And I'm not ashamed to say it, he was a cokehead.
So let's stop there for a second. So, it's a data proven thing that most abusers that abuse someone that's going through domestic violence, whether it's physical, mental, emotionally, whatever it is, that 10 times out of 10 they're using drugs. They're using something that triggers them to become this person. And it's a data proven thing, and sometimes it's something that you don't know, and you're just really lost of why this was going on. So you're stuck at that point. So that's what I'm assuming you were. You were stuck because you didn't know what was going on. You didn't know that he was using this drug, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when did you find out, and how did you find out?
When I found out, one day my aunt came to visit me because she was worried about me because she knew my situation with the dude. She came to visit me. She came, cooked food for us and everything. And after that, next few minutes, he went in room, he must have took a hit, came back out, started flipping. My aunt wound up leaving. My aunt was trying to take me with her, but he refused to let me go. He held me hostage in our own apartment. It got to the point where it's like that day that when he did that episode with my aunt, I just felt very violated because you're gonna do this in front of my family, like you can wait, but he didn't care because abusers, they don't care. They don't care how you feel, what you're going through, the moment of time, they don't care. All they thinking about is that rage and beating your ass.
So, did you guys have any kids together at this
No,
time?
we didn't have no kids, thank God.
Okay, so now you do have a daughter.
Yes.
Beautiful. At what stage in a relationship did you say, okay, this is not okay? This is a little bit uneasy for me, and I don't think I can handle it, but I'm gonna go through it because I want to see us get better together as a unit.
I knew that we was never gonna get better, but what my wake-up call was for me, when he locked me in a house, nailed all the windows, doors, everything where I couldn't get out.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Williams-Bey Radio Show. I'm here with my next guest. Her name is Regina. And we'll be talking in this segment about domestic violence from a child's perspective. Welcome to the show, Regina.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia, for having us. So, we're going to jump right into it. When was the first time that you witnessed domestic violence from a child's perspective?
I think it was when my grandmother, I had to be probably about 10, and my father walked in the house and he punched the window out. He punched the window out. He was mad at my mother. And at that moment, I could see how I come from the family, my sisters shrivel up. And I'm like, why is he yelling at that? Who is he yelling at? Because he's thinking he's in the streets and that's what he's doing. But no, he was yelling at my mother. And I think that was our first time seeing witnessing it.
And you said you were 10?
Yeah, around 7.
Okay. At that moment, what was going through your head? What did you feel? What did you? Because I'm pretty sure at 10 years old you didn't know that it was domestic violence.
I think it was just like you think your parents are having an argument, it's a disagreement. He was upset. At least he punched the wall. and the window out, and I didn't know if he hit her or not. But at that moment, it was just like, okay, this is okay. That's my dad. That's my dad, because I'm daddy's girl, and you're looking at mommy's girl. So we just kind of just held each other, my sisters, and just waited until it was over. Because in the morning, it'll be fine. It's gonna be fine. We're just gonna be a happy family together.
Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with those households, is that parents go through these fights and these arguments, and sometimes they don't end as just everything's gonna be fine. But we think that in the morning when you wake up, everything's gonna be okay, and it's gonna be like nothing happened. Everybody will be talking. We'll go shopping, whatever. But when did you realize that wasn't the case here?
Okay, my dad went away. I think we moved to Queens. My dad had went away to jail, and he came home, and him and my mother were having arguments and fights. And the day that I knew it wasn't okay was he threw my mother into a wall. Her whole body was into a wall, and it was a print. And he had locked the bedroom door. I remember hearing a gun clicking. My older sister, she ran to help, and they was tussling, and he knocked her over, and my mother went to run out the door with my sister. At the time, my dad literally had the gun, and he was shooting the rock at them.
So, in this moment, he's shooting up the block, threw your mother into a wall already. Mm-hmm. What's going through your mind? And at this point, how old are you? Were you 16 years old?
No, I'm literally about 16.
And so you're a little bit more privy to what's going on, okay?
So my sisters are cuddled up once again in the bedroom. I'm telling them hi. At the moment, I think I was the problem solver. And I said, I guess I gotta call the police. Let me call the cops. I called the cops on my father. But at the same time that I called the cops on them and they arrived, I just also defended him against the cops. No, I think somebody else was shooting at me down the block, because I knew if the police showed up, he will calm down, or he doesn't want to go back to jail. He'll be more reasonable. And I spoke with my grandmother, like, he's acting cool, grandma. She was like, call the police, cool, that's it. And at that moment, my dad looked at me, and I knew I didn't want him to go back to jail. So I told the cops, there's no guns in the house. There's nobody listening. Oh no, it's nothing. But they said they received several calls. I was like, that wasn't from this house. It's probably the neighbors. And I made sure so he wouldn't have to leave us again. He could stay. So my mom had left for a day, and my father left. And by the time she came back, she was like, okay, that's enough. That is enough. But what we thought was going to stop became more. It became stalking. He started stalking her. He was harassing us. He threatened to kill all of us. So at that moment of him saying that he was going to kill all of us, I think I was always the voice of reason. He's not going to do that. Y'all over-exaggerating. Calm down. Let's be easy. But at the same time, I know I have to defend my mom, and I know I have to protect him from being sent away again. So I'm being pulled in two different directions. And when your family is sitting in a room cuddled up in a closet now.
1 second, we have to go for a commercial break. We'll be right back after this short commercial break, and I'll be asking my guests how her and her sisters survived this moment.
Let's go!
Hello, Rejoice listeners. This is Cynthia Williams-Bey of the Williams-Bey Radio Show. Be sure to tune in with me every Friday at 12 noon here on Rejoice 101.3, because it's Fighting Fridays and it's time for you to push through so God can restore you and spring you forth into your destiny.
Anytime I feel down, I know I can depend on you to help me pull through. The situations in my life, nobody said it would be easy to walk this way, to live this life today. But through it all, I can say that I never felt such love from somebody who treats everybody like somebody. I can't express my love with 10,000 tongues, but I'm willing to try. So I just wanna take this chance to open my mouth and say thank you, thank you for every good thing in my life. I'm grateful, I gotta say thank you, thank you. There were times I lost hope, my faith was weak and my heart was sinking, and I couldn't see my way out. But then you came and showed me the words to say, the prayers to pray. Give me strength to find my way. I never felt such love, yeah, from somebody. Everybody like somebody. I wish I could, but I can't. I can't express my love with 10,000 tongues, but I'm willing to try. So yeah, I just wanna take this chance. I just wanna take this chance. Open my mouth and say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for every good thing in my life. Every good thing in my life now. Thank you. Grateful, I gotta say thank you. I just wanna take this chance, yeah. I just wanna take this chance to open my mouth and say thank you. Open my mouth and say thank you, Lord, yeah. For every good thing in my life. Every good thing in my life now. Say thank you. Grateful, I gotta say thank you. Look here now. I wanna thank you for all that you've done. I wanna thank you for giving your son. I wanna thank you, cause Lord, you're the one. I wanna thank you. I wanna thank you for all that you've done. I wanna thank you for giving your son. I wanna thank you, cause Lord, you're the one. I wanna thank you. Just wanna say thank you. I just wanna take this chance. I just wanna take this chance. Say thank you, thank you, thank you. I just wanna say thank you for every good thing in my life. All you've done for me, I gotta say thank you, thank you, thank you. Listen at me. I wanna thank you for all that you've done. I wanna thank you for giving your son. I wanna thank you, cause Lord, you're the one. I wanna thank you. Oh, I wanna thank you for all that you've done. I wanna thank you for giving your son. I wanna thank you, Lord, you're the one. I wanna thank you. Just wanna say thank you. I just wanna take this chance to open my mouth and say thank you, thank you for every good thing in my life. I'm grateful, I gotta say thank you, thank you. Thank you. I just wanna thank you, Lord. I just wanna thank you, Lord. I just wanna say, I wanna say thank you.
On a daily. This is your Destiny Pusher, Mrs. Cynthia Williams-Bey, and you are listening to the Williams-Bey Radio Show here on Rejoice 101.3.
Better days awaken me. To be a guest or a partner, or to have your music played on the Williams-Bey Radio Show, email Cindy@bayradioshow.com. To stay up to date with the Williams-Bey Radio Show, or to catch a replay, visit www.bayradioshow.com. And don't forget to follow the Williams-Bey Radio Show on all social media platforms at Bey Radio Show. If you would like to sew into the Williams-Bey Radio Show, you can Cash App us at $Williams-Bey Radio Show.
For my life inside incarcerated places, sick and tired of how.
Someone may be wondering how you can smile with everything that's going on in your life. This is what you tell them. Listen. This joy that I have, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. And if the world can't take it away, because Jesus is that joy. Jesus is that joy. Oh, let's sing it again. This joy that I have, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. No, this joy that I have, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. This joy I have, this joy that I have, yeah, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. And if the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Yeah. Remember that Jesus is that joy. 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 He is my 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 joy. When I was all alone, He is my joy. The joy of my life. He is my joy. He is my joy. Listen, I feel it in my hands, feel it in my hands. I feel it in my hands, feel it in my hands. I feel it in my feet, feel it in my feet. Feel it in my feet, feel it in my feet. Yeah. Feel it in my hands, feel it in my hands. I feel it in my hands, feel it in my hands. I feel it in my feet, my feet, my feet. I feel it in my hands. Feel it in my hands, feel it in my hands. When I clap, feel it in my hands, feel it in my hands. I dance with my feet. This joy goes up in my feet, goes up in my feet. This is amazing joy. This is a wonderful joy. This is the part for you to dance, for you to clap your hands. And while you're clapping, joy is coming back to you. Your faith is being restored. Strength, peace, peace of mind. It's yours in His joy. Yeah, this joy that I have, this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it to me. And if the world didn't give it, the world can't take it away.
I got a friend, his name is Jesus. I got a friend, his name is Jesus. It's not like it.
serve Serena, Venus even serve Bruno Mars, Wrigley. Bars and sound bites you can handle. Note this, I'm tenor by tone, but my Ric Flair is soprano. Had to cut a ham near my pocket like Randall, but the Pearson adopted me, therefore I am Randall. I wasn't born here, I was born again here. I went from Gentile to a gentleman cause of my friend. You know,
I got a friend. His name is Jesus.
There's no one like, 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 there's no one like. You say I got a friend.
His name is Jesus. I got a friend. His name is Jesus.
There's no one like, 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 there's no one like. You say I got a friend who knows all my griefs and my sins. I was guilty in a sense. That's what he bathed me in, like Chanel when he was nailed to that lowercase t like a plus sign. Do the math, simple addition. The sun is the sum, in him there is no division. Make sure in all you're getting, you get nutrition. And when you're talking about my friends, say delicious.
His name is Jesus. I got a friend. His name is Jesus.
There's no one like, 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 there's no one like. You say
I got a friend. His name is Jesus. I got a friend. His name is Jesus.
There's no one like him. There's no one like him. Yeah. There's no one like him. There's no one like him. I got a friend who knows every trial, every temptation. Knows that you get weak, know that you're heavy laden. But in his arms you'll be safe like you beat the throw. He went to bat for you so you were coming home. Even if you ran the base or you stole. Even if the fat lady singing she ain't close. No, you still got time, I suppose. If you don't think that I'm keeping it real, look at my nose.
His name is Jesus. I got a friend. His name is Jesus.
There's no one like him. There's no one like him.
You say
there's no one like him. There's no one like him.
I got a friend.
His name is Jesus. I got a friend.
I got a friend.
His name is Jesus.
There's no one like, 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 not at all.
His name is Jesus. I got a friend. His name is Jesus.
There's no one like him. There's no one like him. There's no one like him. There's no one like him.
This is your Destiny Pusher, Mrs. Cynthia Williams-Bey, and you are listening to the Williams-Bey Radio Show here on Rejoice 101.3.
Better
life inside incarcerated places. Sick and tired of having to struggle with my back against the wall. Standing strong on my 10 toes, I can't stand another fall. Got 4 little kids that need me, so I know I gotta change. Responsibility make it harder, so I'm trapped in the game. Contemplating on tomorrow, steady blowing on that weed. Relieving stress, so I stay high, cause this stress I don't need. Situations be so messed up, I'm close to the edge. I wonder how my folk would take it if I ended up dead. Trying to hold on to my sanity, I'm tempted to click. Taking chances in the dope house, getting all I can get. I ask the question, why the hell I'm guilty, messed up car. Curse from birth, put on this earth to live life hard. But I know it's a chance for me, it's got to be, I'm still alive. I'ma keep on holding on and pray I'm blessed, steady rise, you feel me?
It won't always be like this. It's turning around. It won't always be like this. It's turning around. It won't always be like this. It's turning around. It won't always be like this. It's turning around for me.
I pray for better days. Y'all don't understand that I wanted to give up battling with suicide thoughts. The pressure took over my mind, now I'm racing to find out, Lord, where do I go? Situations taking the best of me. How further can you hear me? Give me direction to see clearly.
It won't always be like this. It's turning around. It won't always be like this. It's turning around. It won't always be like this. It's turning around. It won't always be like this. It's turning around for me. Better days. With my mind is better, and my heart is better. With my family is better, on the road is better. I know better. Better days are coming. Yeah, yeah.
Said it won't.
Always, yeah.
Said it won't.
Welcome back to the Williams-Bey Show. I'm back with my guests, and this is where the part of the story gets a little bit real, and we try to uncover how the relationship is now with her siblings and trying to understand from a child's point of view of what domestic violence looks like. Regina, welcome back to the Williams-Bey Show, and we left off where we were talking about your siblings, you guys are sheltering in one place. Can we go back to that story?
Yes. Well, I think we all just gather, we tend to gather and protect each other. We argue and fight, but then again, we protect each other. If one is in trouble, one comes to the rescue. And it's an overprotectiveness with us. Nobody else can, challenge us. It was a bit violent, like we are, as sisters, I think. A couple of them went one way, a couple went the other way, because you'll have that balance with so many of us. And when what they call it, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. So with that experience, my sisters are, I think, some are anxiety.
Okay.
Some still suffer with anxiety. The relationship with my father is broken. I'm still.
So this is my question. Emotionally, how does this affect you guys' relationship today, in 2022? How are you guys trying to move past this? But it's hard because it takes years to uncover, and it takes years for the healing to happen, right? So emotionally, how does this affect you and your siblings' relationship today?
Well, me personally, it affected me in a way of aggression, but I'm also the protector of everybody around me, the fighter. I want to fight everybody. I started my healing process, and I'm honest, it had to be about 5 years ago. I had to realize, like, oh, this can't be like, you're turning into him.
So, okay, what was that moment where you realized, I have to get healing? I have to seek help because this is not okay and it's affecting my everyday life. And then let's even lead into another question. How's it affecting the relationships that you have now with men?
I was angry, so I know I was angry. I was extremely angry and aggressive. With men, it's the abandonment part. Like, it's basically saying, hey, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I gotta be the aggressive one. I gotta be in control. I have to be it. Like, you see me, I am who I am. I built this from scratch. You can't take advantage of me. You can't control me. Don't talk to me crazy.
So, does it give you, is there triggers that go off?
Oh, it's triggers that go off, please. So don't yell at me. Please don't yell.
Okay, so let's talk about one of those incidents where you were dating someone and it became a triggering moment for you. How did that situation
I think I had one incident where I think that was my only true domestic violence incident. The man came in the house upset, and I never lived with anybody because I don't trust you. Mm-hmm. And he came in and he was a bit aggressive and wanted me to do something, and I didn't want to do it. I said no. And we got to arguing. And I remember we argued with him. I felt like, oh, he's bigger than me. He's going to. Mm-hmm. So I picked up a fan, threw it at him. And I called the police at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like, get away from me. You're going to have to get away from me. Because that, I can say that's my moment where I knew I can be my father. Because I have to protect me. I had a child in the house. And I didn't want him to experience what I did.
Yeah, because data shows that either the child that experiences domestic violence either becomes the abuser or the victim. And it's not by their fault that they become the abuser or the victim. It's by fault of their own parents, because their parents didn't know how to say no to something, right? And it's not the parents' fault because the parents are not giving the correct tools to acknowledge what they're going through and to acknowledge that fighting is not love. Essentially, that's not love. And people may show it as such, but that's not what love is. And we tend to forget that when parents are going through the situation of domestic violence and when they're struggling with it, they forget the children that's around, right? And how it affects their mental health.
They forget that you have children in the house, and every argument, every fight, every disagreement we have, we understand the couples argue, disagree, and fight. But when it comes physical, and you're gonna have a child in the room that's listening to someone degrade you, say things to you that it's not right, that affects each person that's in the house differently. Some, overlook it and be like, I'm coming. Mm-hmm. But a majority of us, it creates an esteem problem, self-esteem problem. You try to people please. You're gonna try to please your parents, you're gonna try to please your friends, everybody outside. It's a struggle. But then you get the ones that become violent. I had to realize that, hey, between them both, you're angry, you're aggressive, you wanna fight. But then at the other part, you gotta protect him, you gotta protect her, you gotta do this because you don't want anybody to hurt anyone that you're around at all.
It is very correct. We'll be back right after this commercial break with a very special guest, the founder and president of the International Queendom Incorporated. Someone that is a mogul in different areas of life, someone that has masters and bachelors and all. And we'll be right back with Corinne Foster.
If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-7233. You can also text START to 88788. That's START to 88788. If you or someone you know is currently in mental distress or having thoughts of self-harm, please call or text the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. If you would like to connect with Tamika Cousins, you can call her at 804-729-2229. You may also find out more information at thefacesbehindapurposeforyou.org.
Thank you for tuning in to the Williams-Bey Radio Show here on Rejoice 101.3. To be a guest or to become a partner of our show, please be sure to email me at cindy@bayradioshow.com. To stay up to date with us and to catch the replay, visit us at www.bayradioshow.com. And don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at Bey Radio Show. And again, this is your Destiny Pusher, Mrs. Cynthia Williams-Bey, and I need you to meet me back next Friday at the same time so that God can restore you and spring you forth into your destiny.